Hey guys, welcome back to the Golf Podcast. This is episode number 329. We've got a guest today. We're going to be talking with Mike Midgette, PGA instructor, and it's going to tie in really well with what we talked about last week. We talked about that club path through the ball.
That's right.
Mike has a great drill, super easy drill, probably the least expensive training aid you're ever going to see in your life, right? Mm-hmm. So we'll save that for a second. But he had it on Golficity. He put together a great video for us on how you can fix, no matter where your club path is, in to out, out to in. He's got a little something you can do, and he's just making it simple. So we're going to talk about that as well as a bunch of other instructional stuff.
Yeah,
it's going to be exciting.
I love having the instructors on the show because, like you said, we get that one juicy nugget.
Yeah.
You know, then this instructional piece, like Frank said, it's a great tip that you can all use. And Mike is one of the instructors that has come on to Golficity recently as a contributor. So keep an eye out on the website as Mike is going to be contributing a lot of great, helpful topics along the way.
For sure. And if you're new to the show, you guys might not know. For any of you who've been with us for a while, you know that Mike and I, we're not instructors, we're not professionals, we are mid-level handicappers. We just like learning the game and then sharing what we learned here. So our hope is that if we learn something, maybe you learn a little bit along with us. But that's why once in a while I like to sprinkle the pros in. You know, I like to get that insight. So it's, as much as it's fun each week for us to decompress what's working, what's not for us in our own golf games, and trying to kind of disseminate the different things that we're learning as we go on our journey learning this game. It's also great to once in a while to inject that, you know, professional insight. And so it's gonna be fun to get that from Mike. So we'll bring him on in a second.
Frank, by the way, not to cut you off,
yeah.
but also if you're listening to this in the car, if you discovered the podcast just through podcasts or whatever, there is a website. Golficity.com. There is a very, very awesome website out there, you know, that you can see the show. If you're just, like I said, if you're just listening to the podcast, go check it out because there's so much stuff on this side. We got a lot of great writers with all kinds of equipment reviews and things like that. So definitely check it out.
You know, over the 7 years we've been doing this, we've amassed probably 300 different instructional articles or more on there, as well as in the Golficity app. So that's a good point. Definitely check that out. Before we start to dig into everything, of course, I want to thank this week's sponsor, Titleist. Look, if you've been on a launch monitor, you know your numbers, you know your ball speed, you know your carry distances, you know your spin rates. Well, here's the good news. The new Titleist Avx can help you improve on all those numbers because it's been redesigned with a new larger core and a thinner cover for more speed and increased greenside spin and control. It's advanced technology to advance your game. Learn more about the new Avx at Titleist.com. And yes, you're going to say it, I was gaming them last week.
I was going to say, you were dabbling with them. I saw them out there.
Look, I like the Avx, 2 years ago, since, been playing the Pro V1, but then with the release of the 2020 AVX, getting a little bit more distance as they talk about that thinner cover and just being able to get a little bit more speed out of it, even though it's still an incredibly soft feel. It's been performing well for me. So knock on wood.
Keep it in play, man.
I'm going to keep, tooling around with it, but you guys got to check it out. Go to Titleist.com, learn about all about the brand new 2020 AVX. Okay, so we won't take up too much time. Normally, we like to talk about a couple different things. There's some stuff that's going on that's going to be fun. We got a couple new videos coming out. The Mulligan match play.
That was so fun.
Which was a lot of fun. And yet again, not only was it just a fun little challenge, you learn so much about your golf game. We both learned a lot about our golf game.
Oh, yeah.
Going out there, and I won't spoil it for you because that video should be out any day now. But keep an eye on the Golficity app or the YouTube channel, and you'll be able to see the Mulligan match play. It's going to be a lot of fun. But I want to dig into this week's Twitter tapping.
I'm laughing already.
Yeah, this one's funny. But look, this week's Twitter tapping is brought to you by DraftKings. Week 2 in golf is here to stay. And even though the trophy is reserved for the winner, the big cash prizes don't have to be. So add to the excitement, DraftKings, the leader in daily fantasy sports, is putting you in the center of the action with a free shot at millions of dollars in prizes with your first deposit. It's easy to play. You just pick 6 golfers, you stay under the salary cap, and submit your lineup before the tournament tees off on Thursday. Then you just sit back, watch the action, and hope your players do well. And look, the more red numbers they have on the leaderboard, the closer you'll be to winning some green. So rack up points for pars, birdies, finishing position, and more. In a time of limited sports, this is your chance to scratch that competitive itch and reign supreme. Right. So download the DraftKings app now. Make sure you guys use code TGP20, the Golf Podcast 20, during sign up. This week, DraftKings is putting you the action with a free shot at millions of prizes. Again, you got to use code TGP20 to get that free shot at millions of dollars in prizes only at DraftKings. Minimum $5 deposit required. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details.
I love that DraftKings is doing the $1 million like every week now.
Every week.
They had to have for the majors. Now it's like
every time I log in, I'm like, what am I missing? And that must be for a couple of weeks from now, major or something like that.
No, it's
every week.
I love it. Yeah, get in there.
That $1 million every week.
Yeah, right.
It's wild. All right. Tell everybody why you're laughing for this week's Twitter tap-in.
I'm laughing at this one because not many people responded for a good reason. Okay, for the reason that they don't want to get caught.
They don't want to get caught. They don't want to give away their excuse. So this week for the Twitter tap-in, we asked, what is the best excuse you ever used to play golf, and did it work? So I think maybe the did it work was what really held people back from answering.
I think so.
They're like, my wife reads this thing, man. I'm not going to respond.
And where we usually have about 30 to 40 responses, we have about two.
As of when we're recording this, we have about
appropriately. So let's jump into it.
Sure. First, Gary Ganji says it's always for charity.
I like that.
That's an easy one. And you know what? Often it is.
Often is.
Might be the charity of, you just giving me money.
Right.
But
it could be. It could be.
What is it?
That makes sense.
What was it in Seinfeld? The human
fund.
The human fund.
I love it.
What are you playing for today? The human fund. And then Soren Moak says, I told my wife I couldn't sleep as she was in the hospital after having her first child. Oh, here we go. I haven't read this yet.
I haven't read it either.
And as I'm reading this, I'm wondering if I'm going to get myself in trouble here. 2 weeks ago, so I went to the range at 6 a.m., told her it was closed, so I played 9. I had to book the round the day prior to celebrate, shot my best score, and made it in time for the visiting hours. Wow.
That's so great.
Wow. Hey.
Oh, wow.
Okay. He made it back for visiting hours.
He made it back, though.
I'm just thinking I don't think I'd ever play another round in my life if I snuck out of the hospital while my wife is in there.
That's brave.
Yeah, that's a brave one.
That's brave.
That's a brave one. How about you? You got any good excuses?
I'm trying to think coming in here, and I don't think I've ever had to make an excuse to play golf.
We've got such a built-in excuse.
It's a built-in because it's for work.
It's for work.
It's for work.
We're like, honey, I'm filming today.
It's for work.
It's for work.
However, there were some times where I've played some leisurely rounds with the buddies, like after golf, and that's been quote unquote client golf.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe who's not in the foursome was a lie.
Yeah.
But it was still golf.
Yeah, I think
I don't know what kind of
if we put out a poll somewhere, I'm sure that's going to be high up there on the list of excuses is that you say, I got to do it. It's for work.
And if it's for work, then
it's for work.
Well,
you got to
pay
do
the
it.
bills.
I got a golf trip coming up. It's for work.
Right.
Yeah. But I think for me, more so, it's not so much the excuse, but when a round is taking a while, which they all are right now, because everything's slow with COVID and you can't play through and stuff like that.
Right.
When you get that call or text like, hey, do you know what time you're going to wrap it up? And no matter what, when you get that text, you're on the last hole.
Right.
You're just like, yeah, I'm on 18 now.
Yeah, no matter what hole you're on.
No matter what, yeah.
Always.
Like holes 14 through 18 are just 18 when it comes to that
Then
text.
you get home when it was like an hour and a half ago, you were just wrapping up.
Right. Be like, getting out of the lot, you know. I don't know what you say at that point.
You just keep going.
You know what you say about
I had a drink.
point.
I didn't want to have a drink, but they told me I had to.
So if any of you are brave enough to throw your own excuses in there, drop them in the comments below and let us know what was your best excuse or maybe your worst excuse. Because I love this. Did it work?
Yeah, who got caught?
If it didn't work, tell us.
I want to know who got caught.
Who got caught? Right, exactly. And then what was the consequences?
Exactly.
So that one was fun, but I was laughing too when I only saw 2 responses. The only 2 brave souls.
2 brave
came
souls
forward
out there.
for that
well,
one.
thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for coming forward.
Thanks, guys.
All right. I don't want to keep Mike waiting because we've got a lot to talk to him about. So what do you say? Let's do a quick word from our sponsors, and then we're going to bring them on the show.
Sure. So, guys, the all-new ShotScope V3s are coming July 6th. Remember that date. We've got ours. We played with them. We're a couple of rounds deep. We're obsessed. Love the features. You guys are going to see a ton of great videos from our channel about this watch in the coming weeks.
Yeah, lots of information.
Stay
to
tuned.
come.
An unboxing, a round played with it, really in depth. So check it out. Like I said, it's a couple weeks away. You heard the name if you've been listening to the show for a while, but if not, no worries. The ShotScope stat tracking watch now in 2 versions, the G3 with GPS only, and the V3, which has the GPS plus that incredible stat tracking feature that we all love so much. But like I said, July 6th is your launch date, and if you want it when it drops, like they say in the biz, Frank, you want to get it when it drops, right? Just visit shotscope.com right now. You're going to be on a landing page where you put in your emails to sign up. It's really the only thing you could do right now on the website. You put your email in, and then boom, you're going to be notified the minute it drops, and then you can go and buy it. And once you get yours, you could join the Golficity Leaderboard. The code is GICITY. This week, big shout out to E. Bilko from the USA, who sits on top of the Golficity Leaderboard for putting Out of 339 people, get this, he ranks first with an average of 21 putts per round. Dude is lights out.
Yeah, he is. Not playing him for money.
Dudette is lights out.
Wow.
On the putting green.
Wow, yeah. 21 putts per round. Average.
Burying putts.
Yeah.
I love it. Good for you guys. Check out ShotScope. Make sure you get that V3 or G3 this year. And next, I just want to thank FootJoy. Of course, we talk about this all the time. Wearing the right golf shoe, it matters. It really does. That's why FootJoy offers more types of shoes for more types of players than anyone else. You can get matched with the right shoe now for your golf game at footjoy.com with the FootJoy Shoe Finder. By answering just a few questions, you can find the right shoe that fits your playing style and preference, whether you walk or ride, prefer cleats, spikeless, ultra stable, flexible, wide, narrow, extra, extra wide, whatever your foot is. They got you covered. FootJoy has most styles for the most players. You can match to the right golf shoe that's perfect for you. Now, does your golf shoe match your game? You might be thinking about that right now. If not, check it out. Find out that from the FootJoy Shoe Finder tool. Visit footjoy.com/shoefinder today. And Frank, speaking of FootJoy, big shout out to Webb Simpson.
Yeah.
I had an interesting stat. He won yesterday at the RBC. Get this. Did you know? This is Mike's Did You Know?
Okay. All right. Mike's 2 cents.
Webb won the U.S. Open in 2012 on Father's Day. He won the Players' Championship on Mother's Day. And he just won the RBC Heritage on Father's Day. Guys, don't bet against Webb on a holiday. That WGC's rolling around right around Halloween. My money's on Webb, calling it right now.
And he I think he has 5 kids.
He's got, I think, 5.
It's either 4 or 5 kids.
So.
Yeah, man, that's his wheelhouse.
He made his parents proud, and he's a proud parent himself. He likes to win on those holidays.
He does. That's when he comes to play.
That's when he comes to play. I love it.
So we know next year we'll bet on. Put him in your DraftKings lineup next year.
Done.
When come Father's Day.
Done.
For sure. All right, let's bring Mike on the show. Let's talk a little bit about some of what he's got going on. Talk a little bit about some great, easy tips and drills that you guys can use to work out that swing path.
All right, guys, we're going to bring on Mike Midgette, Director of Instruction and Head PGA Pro at Park Ridge Golf Course, and now Golficity contributor. Mike, welcome to the Golf Podcast.
Boys, thanks for having me on. I'm excited.
Yeah, sure thing.
Yeah, super excited to have you. And I tell you, I want to dig in a minute and talk a little bit about that instructional piece you did on Golficity with using the bucket as kind of a very accessible training aid. So I thought that was terrific, and it'll tie in well to what we talked about last week, which is a little bit about swing path. But before we do that, why don't you just take a moment, just let our listeners know a little bit about yourself, who you are, and how you got started, I guess, teaching the game.
I'm going to try to keep this as short as possible. Grew up on Long Island, originally from Plainview. I grew up playing ice hockey. Didn't have the size when I was mid-teens, so kind of drifted away from hockey and picked up golf. I went to the 2002 U.S. Open at Bethpage. It's my first ever PGA Tour event to watch. Went to the range after that, picked it up pretty quick. Went to a summer camp in South Carolina, International Junior Golf Academy. They had a boarding school, so I finished high school in South Carolina. Went to college, Coastal Carolina in Myrtle Beach. Did their PGM program, graduated with a Class A PGA professional membership. Stayed down there for a few years, was teaching and just playing the mini tours. My coach now, and I'll get into that later. Obviously, yeah, I'm a golf instructor, but I also have a golf coach. I've been working with him since 2013. He's based out of Myrtle Beach, but I stayed there, then went back to the hometown. Was working at SkyDrive in Farmingdale before they shut down. Then moved over to Eisenhower, worked at Hempstead.
Jeez, you moved over.
A little bit of everything.
Yes, I worked at Hempstead as an assistant pro the last 2 years, and my family moved to Florida. They moved to Fort Lauderdale about 6 or 7 years ago. I'm the last one to make the move. And yeah, that's where I am now, full time. Moved here in January.
Mike, going back a little bit to that mini tour life, what kind of a grind was that?
I mean, dude, it's still a grind. Still try to play the mini tours. Like back then, when I first started playing, I mean, you know, Patton Kazire is, sure. Roberto Diaz. I think even Keegan and Tony Finau were out there on the Hooters tour. It was like it was booming. 140 guys per week. They had Monday qualifiers for certain events. But yeah, it just kind of plunged, I want to say. It just really, mini tour golf isn't a very popular route. They used to give exemptions into a couple of PGA Tour events. They don't anymore.
Right.
So maybe that's probably the reason why. It's also very expensive. Or it can be. I mean, I haven't been out there in a couple of years. I know the Swing Thought Tour is doing some things as far as cost effectiveness. They get it. The minor league tour down here, 1-2 day events, just go out, play 18 holes, win some cash. But it is a grind, and because it's not as glamorous as the PGA Tour is, or even it's a grind on the Korn Ferry Tour as well, just to make money. But everybody that does it is all in pursuit of one thing, and that's playing full time on the PGA Tour. That's the big show. So, just as in any other major sport, it's the same thing, moving up.
Yeah, and what do you find is from a personal standpoint? Because it sounds like still doing a little bit of both. Do you have a preference of teaching the game versus playing it, or what kind of motivated you into doing some more of the teaching aside? Because it just really is two different worlds in a lot of ways.
It is, and I know I mentioned that I have my own swing coach. His name's Alistair Dyer. He's based in Barefoot in Myrtle Beach. Because if I were to look at my own swing, I wouldn't be able to play golf. So I have him look at my swing, and then I just look at everybody else's. I mean, I love both parts of the game, competitive and teaching. There's two different, I guess, two different levels of satisfaction that those two parts of the game you can get from. Like teaching, having somebody improve within an hour and actually getting what we call the aha moment where it actually clicks. I go home feeling awesome, or just as awesome as the student does. Birdieing the last 3 holes to win an event. It's the same kind of feeling, but obviously it's more of a personal accomplishment and not like sharing it with a student. So.
Gotcha. And I want a point you raised there where you said, you couldn't kind of look at your own swing. It would kind of put you down the wrong path. I'm wondering if this draws any connection between the instructional piece you did on Golficity recently. You started off by saying how you can kind of go down this wormhole if you self-diagnose. And you're saying, especially with swing path, just starting to like try every little quick fix that you find on the internet. Is there a similarity there? Because there you had said a good advice would be to start by speaking with a coach, have someone else take a look at your swing, see what you got going wrong, and then you can kind of design a training or a training aid program to fix it. Is it a similar thing there, that you just proponent of having someone else, another set of eyes, look at the swing?
Yes, and I'm sure you've heard it. I'm sure a bunch of your listeners have heard it. Feel versus real.
Yeah, for sure.
It is, and then to have a professional set of eyes on you to give you that advice. I mean, it's $50 probably for a half-hour lesson, just to have somebody take a look at your swing. Or even if you don't want to pay for a lesson, just look at your swing, because I guarantee you what you feel you are doing and what you actually are doing are two different things. Right. Like it's even at the highest level. I mean, look at Justin Rose. I watched a video. I think they showed him on the range at the Heritage this week of explaining feel versus real, like what he does, that drastic rehearsal where he's dropping his arms, nothing else is moving. He's not actually doing that in his swing, because when he adds rotation, the club gets to a much better, different position. But he needs to feel that as he's rotating. So that's one example. But just the YouTube, like obviously I do YouTube tips. It's very good as like to promote yourself on YouTube as an instructor. However, you can get 8 different people explaining what over the top and how to counteract or fix over the top in 15 different ways.
Yeah. Well, that's where, as golfers, the resource is great to have, that there's so much out there. But I think even just to save some time for yourself, like this is something that I personally like to do, going and getting that lesson and just finding out how to narrow down that stream of information, because otherwise you get on, it's just too wide. There's too much out there. So once you have a coach or a pro, somebody looks at it and says, hey, this is what's going on here. Even within that, there's still going to be mountains of information, but at least you feel like you're not chasing your tail.
Yeah. And if you're going to watch YouTube and that's the way you want to learn, that's fine. I've seen some people are able to build their swing via YouTube stuff. However, everybody that I've found that has watched YouTube and has gotten better has stuck to one instructor.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't gone from one, okay, I watched this video Sean Foley did, and then Hank Haney said a different thing. I'm just naming. And then I saw Butch Harmon, he did this, and just stick to one person or one coach on YouTube because they're going to communicate their own way pertaining to different parts of the game.
Which makes sense, because in real life, we wouldn't do that. I wouldn't take a lesson, in person with one guy 1 week and then another guy the next week. You've been with your swing coach. How long did you say?
2013.
Yeah. So there's, you understand the benefit, I guess, of working with one person there.
Yeah. It's very, very important. So I wouldn't say shy away from YouTube, but as far as going down the rabbit hole and watching 4 different instructors explain how to fix what over the top is, absolutely avoid that at all costs, please.
Yeah. It's a good point. And I want to talk a little bit about that with the swing path and kind of using that as a segue. With swing path, there's no kind of 100% right way for everyone, correct? Because I think sometimes, like for instance, I'm reading like Ben Hogan's book, and he talks about the importance of being from, inside out, or rather than, outside in. And he's a proponent of that. But that doesn't necessarily mean like there's no limitations on that, right? You can still be too, inside out or vice versa. What's your take on that? Because I'd love to hear your experience with it. So
I always give this example to a student who seems experienced and just wants to get better. He or she, they'll come to me and they'll say, well, I see they do this or that. There are 1,000 different ways to swing the golf club, correct? You look on TV, you got all these different swings between Bubba, Brooks, Dustin, Rory, Tiger, Jordan Spieth, Justin Thomas, all those guys. Their swings are pretty different, correct?
Yeah, for sure.
And you're going to have some people that like to play the fade. Some people like to play the draw. However, there are, as far as attack angle, yes, those numbers should be pretty similar. But as far as club path, obviously you don't want like a 7-degree into out or vice versa. Mm-hmm. But you can play the game from either side of the path or of the ball. So I wouldn't really, I like inside out, but I've always been a fan of the draw. The draw has always just come easy to me. Mm-hmm. But I can't stand the hook. Right. So once I start getting inside out, I said it in that drill that you were talking, the YouTube video. That's easy to me, getting it inside out. Outside in, you can hit a cut, but it's more like a block cut. It's not like a real fade. A fade, you want to start a little left and fade it towards the target. So there's also a couple of different ways where you can move the ball left to right and right to left. It's just a matter of if it starts at the target and draws left, or if it's starting right of the target and draws in. You understand?
Right. Yeah, for sure. So what would be your process with, let's say a student comes to you, or even for our listeners, if they're working with a coach, what should they expect as far as if they approach a situation with they're going to have some sort of natural swing path to start with? Would a coach work within that, or is there going to be a situation where you're going to try to change that? Let's say if somebody is inside out, are you going to try to move them to outside in, or are you going to work within that and just try to bring it into a more controlled space?
This is an awesome question. So I'm not teaching tour players. Most of my students that come to me just want to get better.
Right.
So for me to change their swing from an inside out to an outside in path, if they like me, they like hanging out with me, they're more than welcome to pay me for the lessons, but I'm not going to sit there and try to change their swing that much.
Gotcha.
I'm going to take what they gave me, work with it, and just make it better. Most of the time, I'd honestly say about 80% of my lessons have to do with alignment, grip, posture, and weight transfer. If I could simplify or correct any four of those or all four of those within an hour, it's almost guaranteed a success. One of the most common, I don't know why, but one of the most common things within the last year and a half, everybody's talking about weight transfer, or am I transferring my weight? I really, really need everybody to stop worrying about weight transfer because that causes so much lateral hip movement where they're trying to shift their hips instead of actually turn. I'm not a stack and tilt guy, but I have a sort of a methodology where I try to keep their weight over the golf ball and just have their shoulder turn behind the ball, and trying to keep them my students over the ball and have them turn their shoulders, trying to keep their weight centered. It just simplifies almost everything. Your weight is going to transfer if you are rotating.
So you're saying you're seeing a lot of a slide motion because people have that thought that, like, again, going back to like the feel versus real, they want to feel that they're moving their weight and they're actually sliding, that's a first way to lose power, really. Correct.
You lose power, you lose consistency, you lose speed. It requires a whole lot of effort. So once I get some students to start turning and understand how to turn their upper body against their lower body and sort of separating the two, because that's going to lead to a little bit more speed, and they finally get it, I usually tell them to swing around 50%. And when they do that and stripe it, like, oh my God, that felt like I didn't even hit it.
Right.
Okay. Stop trying to swing so hard.
It is like miraculous how much diminishing returns there are when
it's counterintuitive.
It really is. And is that just because at those, well, I would say quote unquote slower speeds, you're getting better contact, you're more efficiently transferring the power to the ball? Is that why that's like that?
Yes. And now we're going to have to call up Bryson to talk.
Oh yeah, right. Get the scientist on the line. Yeah.
But for real, like the tighter you grip the club, the less it actually weighs when you're swinging it. So if I can get somebody to lighten up and make these 40 to 50% swings, tension automatically leaves their body and gives the club more momentum. And then once they make that center contact or anywhere close, they're like, I've never felt anything like that. And it literally didn't feel like I hit a golf ball. Because you know the difference between a thin shot and something off the toe or off the heel. If you give it a little bit more freedom with your hands and free up a little bit of tension, it feels a little bit better. And if you hit it solid, obviously that's what everybody's searching for. But
yeah, it is a shocking feeling. I know, Mike, you've been experiencing it a lot lately, where you've been just kind of slowing down your tempo and your rhythm, and the ball's going further, but you feel like you're swinging it not nearly as much. And then when I do end up pulling it, I then quickly realize that I put a little too much into that.
Yeah. I swung a little bit too quick. But lately it's just been like instant feedback on it.
Right.
But yeah, absolutely.
So what other types of I guess drills and things do you do with your students to kind of promote a little bit more of that, feel versus real, and give them I guess, the feedback that they need to get into that rhythm and that position?
Hundreds of practice swings. I don't hit a lot of golf balls, or I don't let my students hit a lot of golf balls unless so I'm gonna break down a lesson. Guy comes to me, I see that he's got a death grip on the golf club. Once I see that, I don't ask them anything. I'll just walk up and pretty much just line up next to them and ask them to start their backswing. Once I grab their club, if I can't move it and their wrists they're moving their upper body and it feels like rebar,
Right.
Then we do some just little pitch shots where it feels like the club is going to fly out of their hands. And I'll obviously just stand there, give them feedback. Okay, that was good, but I need you holding it looser. Loose, loose, loose. And then they get that one that clicks, and they're like, oh my God, I feel like I didn't even swing. So once we start with that, then we add just a little bit of shoulder rotation and sync it up that way. So if somebody's got grip tension problems, then that's what we do. We just try to free it up, and really, because I'll stand in front of them and do it with them. And if they're not matching me, then we're not hitting balls yet. So that's pretty much the process when I see somebody gripping it too tight.
Gotcha. But otherwise, you're saying you can do a lot of work without even hitting the ball. You're saying just a lot of what are you doing? Just kind of getting alignment sticks, getting them to alignment, and just
yes,
watching them swing type of thing?
Yeah, there's always alignment sticks on my teaching tee, because alignment is another. I mean, we're gonna talk for hours if we keep going. But yeah. Alignment can definitely cause a lot of your swing flaws, because say you may not realize it, but your body could be lined up to the right or the left of your target. But when you look up at your target, you don't really care where your body is. It's just a matter of where you're looking. In your mind, subconsciously, it knows that your body's nowhere near aimed properly, and it just compensates during the swing. You either try to push it out or you try to pull it back online, and I see it over and over and over. So if you guys go practice, definitely work on your alignment. Just throw an alignment stick down, set your body up parallel to that alignment stick, and boom, it's not even a thought. That's how you train your eye to line up properly.
And I'm glad you said that, because that's kind of what I was driving at for our listeners. If they can get like one quick takeaway, I mean, everybody loves something that they can work on at home. And that's when you said, you can do a lot of work without actually hitting a ball. That's what kind of lit me up a little bit, because I'm thinking, okay, there's a way that people who are limited on time, limited on resources, can still work on their game a bunch at home. So, something as much as you're saying, get that alignment right and just get used to that feel. Am I saying that right?
Yes, and it's kind of funny. I don't have the shirt on me, which is unfortunate, but not everybody, but most common phrase, my practice swing is perfect.
Right. Because
there's nothing in the way, or there's nothing for you to hit. It's very free. So you're not worried about hitting anything. You're just, okay, boom, I'm just going to swing. That felt good. Put a tee or get a wiffle ball, or even if you just roll up a napkin, you're aiming at hitting something. So you can't, if you're going to make those practice swings and do work at home, put something in the way just for feedback.
Gotcha. Yeah, I always like to hear that when people say, just take your normal swing and just let the ball get in the way, so to speak.
That's right. If it only were that easy.
If only is right. But yeah, so that seems like a good way to go about it, as far as just getting it home and just getting those swings in order. I know, even from myself, so many golfers, especially at that amateur level, are after more consistency. I think it's probably the second thing you probably hear after distance. Everyone's like, I just want to be more consistent. And I've found that recently a big hindrance to my consistency is finding that my swing is built on too many compensations. Like if you don't start in the right, whatever it may be, the alignment, whatever, something has to happen where I have to compensate for it in the swing. And that's why some days I will shoot a great score, and the next day it'll be terrible, because it's just one day my compensations are clicking and the next day they're not. So I've been trying to put work into just simplifying the swing and get back to the fundamentals. So, I mean, that's a takeaway from me. I'm going to definitely work on that with the alignment stick more at home, because I'm sure there are times I'm misaligned, especially once you go out to the golf course and now you throw those other dynamics at it, side hill lies, downhill lies. That's where even more so your alignment comes into play.
Yeah, and my buddy Johnny and I talked about that. Like, we get people, how do you hit off a downhill lie, this, that, and the other thing. There's really no book on how to hit those shots, because if the ball is below your feet, yes, it's supposed to go to the right. But I've hit plenty of pulls off of those lies, so there's no book on those. That's just playing the game and becoming experienced and finding out what your tendencies are.
Right. Gotcha. That's cool. And listen, I don't want to let you go before we get a chance to talk a little bit about this. I'm going to link to the video so everybody can see it. You guys can get to that in the show notes, because I know sometimes it's much easier, obviously, to see it than just describe it. But referencing the drill that you did for us with the bucket, can you just tell us a little bit about the basic setup of that and why that can help?
Yeah, all you need is a range bucket. So if my path, a little too far inside out. So what I'm going to do is I put it in front of the golf ball. So I'm a right-handed golfer. It'll be in line with my left foot. So that'll encourage me to sort of come outside to in or across the ball. And it's just a drill. It's just a feeling. I rehearse in slow motion, just trying to get the club more outside my hands into a better delivery position on the way down. Delivery position is pretty much halfway down your downswing. If you come over the top, so you would put it in line with your trail foot in the way. Because if you come over the top, you're going to hit that bucket. So the club will be inclined to be more on an inside out path. Okay. If you are an over the top swinger, or you swing the club over the top, I would definitely, number one, encourage you to try to hit push shots. And a push shot is just something straight right. So you line up to your target, it's just going in a straight line to the right. That's how you fix your path. Okay, so inside out, club face is square to that path. That's where the bucket in front of your right foot will come in. Then once you start to square it up, you'll start to hit draws, nice high draws. But yeah, I mean, I always like to practice with something. If I'm trying to change something in my swing, I always like to practice with something in the way, physically or visually. It starts with physically in the way, and then you progress it to visually, because it doesn't need to be there if you're changing it enough.
Gotcha. So you say, because that bucket is like, basically it's all you need to give your body that visual feedback, is saying just avoid the bucket.
Right.
Don't
Yeah.
hit,
The bucket.
I got
Yes.
you.
I was just going to say, Mike, and if you're outside in, or if you're coming across it too much, are you just simply moving the bucket to the back foot? Is it that simple?
It is that simple.
Okay.
Now, obviously, there are going to be some body movements that I would look at if we were doing a lesson. But like I encourage you to practice in slow motion so you can sort of feel what your body needs to do, because the golf swing happens way too fast. So try to feel what kind of feedback your body's giving you while you're getting the club on a better path, and then just gradually speed it up. It's not going to take 50 balls. It's not going to take 100 if you've been swinging the same way for 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
It's going to take some work, but more effective qualitative practice rather than quantity.
Yeah. It makes a lot of sense. I remember somewhere along the line, an instructor once told me, if you can't do the move at 30%, no way you're doing it at full speed. So
Boom.
yeah, I mean, that's just it for me. It's just saying, like, I gotta be able to master it at slow speeds first. It's like anything in life. I mean, you wouldn't just jump into any other skill with 2 feet, at full speed. You're going to go start slow. So it's an anomaly to me that us as golfers, so many times we just go out there and rip it,
Right.
even with something new. So.
Look, it's like snowboarding, skiing, skateboarding, whatever.
Right.
You got to learn. You got to take your time. I'm not saying the golf swing is as easy as jumping on a skateboard, but you get exactly what you just said. You got to kind of take it step by step.
Take it step by step. And then I think just kind of tying that in before anyone does dive into that drill again, which we'll link to the video so everybody can take a watch. And you even say it in the video again, kind of first get your starting point of what is wrong, possibly by working with a coach, because otherwise you could end up, just because you may think that your swing path is a certain way, and then you start putting in this drill, and if it's not the reality, and I just know that because even for myself, I thought my swing path was one direction. It took a lesson to realize I was actually doing the other thing, or some combination. I found that I was starting off fairly shallow and then getting steep towards the top, which would cause me to kind of lift up and flip at the end. So there's dynamics at play here that it does help getting that extra set of eyes on it.
Absolutely. And it would take 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Just make sure that everybody says, okay, there's hands-on learners and visual learners. Hands down, if you have a video, if you can get your swing on video and show it to somebody, or if they can video your swing and tell you what you're doing wrong, I highly, highly, highly recommend having a pro look at your swing on video first.
For sure. And hey, that's the benefit of being golfers today. We've all got a video camera in our pocket. So
yes.
It's easy enough to record yourself. But
yes.
All right, Mike, before we let you go, tell our listeners a little bit more, other than, on Golficity and some of the great stuff you've been doing for us. How can they find out a little bit more about you, a little bit more about your teaching philosophy, and possibly get in contact with you?
Website is www.mikey.golf. Everything's on there, all the stuff I work with and stuff I believe in, training aids and all that. At Mikey.golf on Instagram. I have a Facebook. I'm just very active on Instagram. I have a YouTube. All of that is on my website. So www.mikey.golf or at Mikey.golf on Instagram.
Terrific. Yeah, and we'll link to all those in the show notes. If you guys are driving or whatever, you can get back and reference and find all those links. Mike, it's been great having you on the show. We appreciate you taking the time, and we look forward to more to come from you on Golficity and all the instructional pieces, because, like I said, learned a lot just watching that quick 10-minute video you threw together.
I'm looking forward to posting some more stuff. I got some more stuff coming your way, and hopefully I can come back. I'm getting married in October, so I'll be in New York. We'll get together.
Congrats.
Good,
Was that the original date, or were you one of the many who was pushed off by the COVID?
Original date.
Okay.
Date.
Good.
Excellent.
Well, I hope everything works out well for that, and congrats. And yeah, if you're up here this way, maybe we'll even get a round in for sure.
Yeah. We'll go bug Johnny at Old Oaks.
There you
Perfect.
go. We're in. We don't have to twist our arm. All right. It was
boys.
great
Thank
chatting with you. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Mike.
Yeah, man.
All right, like I said at the top of the show, I always like to get that different insight, get different instructors on the show. It's like I said, it's fun every week for us to talk about the instructional stuff that we're learning as we go and where we learn it, but also just getting the insight and being able to, for me, being able to bounce some of that stuff we talked about last week about swing path off of him. It just kind of validated in a lot of ways for me my own thinking of what I had said and saying that it doesn't necessarily mean you need to change. We talked about that in the last episode. We said there's a certain degree that your natural swing path is going to be your natural swing path. Sure, you want to work within the parameters of a good swing, but just because, for example, your favorite tour pro, swings a little bit inside out and you're the other direction, doesn't mean you have to work against that, because as you could hear in Mike's voice, the amount of work it takes to rework that much of your mechanics is quite a bit.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And I feel spoiled with all these great instructors that come on the show, because like I said before, we just get a little piece. And, that drill, how easy. Everyone can do it.
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to give it a try, because I want to try a couple of things. But, I love it. Dude, the more the merrier. Bring them on. You can never have too much instruction.
For sure. And I think, if nothing else, what we're developing is a good methodology for somebody, especially, I know there's a lot of people who are very new to the game listening to the show, and I think it's a great starting point, because this game, there's so much to it that it can be so confusing and overbearing of where do I start. And I think that this is a great thing that Mike was saying, is like, even if you start with just that 30-minute lesson, 30-minute time commitment, 30 minutes with your local pro shouldn't be too cost prohibitive. cost prohibitive, and you get there and just start with that baseline rather than kind of guessing. And then we are living in a time it's fortunate enough to have so many resources, free resources. You know, I love, and I've learned so much from watching, you know, instructors on YouTube, some of our favorites, you know, that are out there.
Yeah.
I still, you know, every once in a while will jump back to a me and my golf video from years ago.
Right.
You know, it's evergreen stuff. It's there. It's the, you know, or any of the great instructors that are out there. But just first kind of knowing the general direction that you need to go, because we're all so different as golfers and we all swing so differently. Instead of just trying to do a one size fits all piece of instruction, if you can start with that, just get a little bit of information of what you need to work on and then narrow your search down to that. Say, okay, I've determined that this is what's generally wrong with my swing. Maybe it's alignment, for example. Then you can dive into some instruction on alignment, but rather than just kind of broadly going at it and just kind of seeing what sticks. I think you'll save yourself time in the long run.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So you can get to the show notes of everything we talked about by going to golficity.com/episode 329. Definitely give him Mike a look, his Instagram account, give him a follow, his website. He's got a lot of great stuff out there. And again, it just becomes one more great free resource that you can use. So we appreciate Mike coming on the show. It's great to, you know, get a chance to talk to an instructor, as we said. And we appreciate all of you, as always, following along and listening to the show week after week. If you're listening to us on iTunes, make sure you guys give us a quick review. We love to see those. We love to read those reviews. It's a great way for us to grow the show. And we'll be back again next week. We've got some great guests in the next couple of weeks rolling out. So stay tuned for that. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, and we'll see everybody again next week.